Secretary Perry, thank you very much for your time.
My privilege, thank you.
What have you learned on your trip to China, and what are you going to be taking back with you in terms of cooperation on energy between China and the U.S.?
Well, it's not just an energy story. It's it's an economic development story. Energy being right at the heart of it. American LNG into China is an extraordinary opportunity for both sides, I might add. Obviously, the shale revolution has changed the entire landscape of energy, but also, having been the governor of Texas, seen how the shale gas revolution had changed our ability to impact the environment in the 12th largest economy in the world. Great story and a great experiment, if you will, for China to clean up the air, to be able to have a real impact on the environment. LNG will play a very, very important role.
Did you get any closer to China signing a long-term contract for U.S. LNG?
Well, that was not our role to come. That's a State Department and the government of China working together. I think what we were able to do was to share with Vice Premier Zhang Gali that our ability to deliver LNG was very substantial. Our desire to be a participant in this market is very strong. So the will is there, and I think that both governments will come together, working with the private sector, and find some great opportunities for American energy coming into China.
It's a hard sell, though, U.S. LNG to China, because of the transport costs and because they have a lot of other potential partners for LNG. It's competitive. How do you sell it to the Chinese?
Well, obviously, reliability is a real important part of this, and long-term ability to, again, not making any reflections on any other place in the world, but Texas and Louisiana are pretty stable regions of the world. So when we make a 30-year contract, we're going to be able to deliver 30 years' worth of gas.
I spoke to the chairman of CNPC, the biggest oil and gas producer here, just a few weeks ago, and he said he was interested in investing in U.S. LNG terminals. Is that something that you would encourage?
Well, it's certainly economic development in the United States has been very much an open opportunity for individuals, whether they're United States or whether they're from somebody else. The one thing that I've tried to bring to our friends here in China is that this needs to be a level playing field. We are open to investments in the United States, obviously. We have conversations with countries, whether it's Saudi Arabia, some of our other friends who are interested in investing in the U.S. But also we like to see that same reciprocation, if you will, so that U.S. companies coming to invest in China have the same opportunities. We have a level playing field, and I think if we both work towards that, then both sides can leave the negotiation table with a good feeling about it, and frankly building a relationship that will be good for both countries.
So if there was a level playing field, however you define it, you would consider the Chinese buying a major LNG terminal?
The Chinese already have investments in the United States. For instance, in my home state, CNOOC has pretty substantial ownership of some oil and gas properties in that state. So this isn't something new, but it is, again, this is an incredibly dynamic economy in China, and participating in that for American companies is very important. And we live in a globe that is getting smaller and smaller. So making sure that the level playing field is attained, or as level as we can make it, is very important to both sides.
On nuclear, you've got the Westinghouse company building 2 nuclear plants in South Carolina and Georgia, and obviously that company is now bankrupt and is looking for buyers. Are you going to rule out foreign buyers when it comes to Westinghouse?
Well, we're a long way away from any settlement being attained relative to Westinghouse. That's the reason bankruptcy laws are what they are, restructure to come to a conclusion that allows them basically to get back into business again, and I think that's the preferable goal. We're going to look at a lot of different opportunities for Westinghouse. They've got major projects right here in China. I think there are 4 projects with AP1000s coming online. There's a substantial number of plants here in China that are going to be coming on board with Westinghouse. So, we're a long way from Westinghouse being in a conclusive position relative to their business model. They're a good company. They got some great technology, and I suggest to you they'll get it all sorted out, and we'll continue to have a good U.S. company that's making great technology.
Chinese buyers could still get involved.
Well, Chinese buyers are obviously, in the mix for any of the properties and technologies. We have a process that we go through to make sure that those are properly vetted, and so, but a long way to go before there's any exchanges, I should say, of ownership.
Well, what kind of support might the federal government give to Westinghouse to ensure that they complete those nuclear reactors?
Well, I think the jury's still out about, we're going to try to make sure that we don't get in the way regulatory-wise. It's a very, historically, government could get in the way of the private sector from a regulatory standpoint. President Trump has been very straightforward, very strong in his directives to his cabinet, to agency heads that make sure that regulations, do what they're supposed to do. That there's not some unintended consequence, that the cost outweighs the benefit, and that's a process that we've gone through, that the president has directed. So the regulatory side of things is the one where we can, I think, be the most helpful.
You've talked about leadership, U.S. leadership on innovation, clean energy. How can you make that case when the president is looking to cut your department's budget for R&D by about 20%?
Well, the reduction in the total Department of Energy's budget is about 5.7%. I was the governor of the 12th largest economy in the world for 14 years. It wasn't always blue skies and smooth sailing for us. We had some major turndowns of the economy in the early 2000s, for instance, when we had well over 10% reduction. I know how to manage, and so I don't wake up in the middle of the night going, oh, drat, there's going to be these huge cuts. And it's called prioritizing, it's called managing, and I'm quite comfortable that the Department of Energy is going to be able to meet our requirements, do the things that we're supposed to do, and do it within the budget that Congress will approve for us.
That R&D spending has been crucial to America's innovation, whether
right,
it's solar panels or whether it's Tesla, which got a loan from your department originally and
right.
is now
and
doing very well.
I make the argument to you that I know how to manage. I mean, take a look at what happened in Texas during that 14 years. We created more jobs than any other state in the nation. It was a place where people wanted to move to because they knew they wouldn't be overtaxed, overregulated, overlitigated. They can find a skilled workforce. I know how to manage, and we'll do quite well. We'll prioritize what's important to this administration and to America, and those will be funded.
On the Paris Climate Change Accord, you were right to want to stay in, weren't you? Because it has reduced America's role, and we are seeing China and Europe step into that void now.
Well, I think it's rather interesting that those of you who were of the, oh, you must stay in position don't have a little bit of reality to your view, which is I could argue it round or square, in which I said along the way, I mean, you could stay in, but at the end of the day, the administration made the decision, and I agree with it. When you looked at the cost versus the benefit that you're going to get from being in the Paris Agreement, that it wasn't worth it. And that is, I think, a very wise thing. Now, the more important issue is America going to continue to be a leader in technology and innovation relative to clean energy? And the answer is yes. Why do you think I'm in China? This is a clean energy ministerial. We're actively engaged with that. Yesterday we had an incredibly successful session talking about carbon capture, utilization, and sequestration. China is very interested in that. The United States and China leading the world in the reduction of emissions. So there's a real story to be told here by the United States about what we're doing to reduce emissions, what we're doing on clean energy technologies. So the idea that you have to sign an agreement somewhere, which in all reality, this was an agreement by the Obama administration. It didn't even go to our Congress for the Senate for ratification. It was not a treaty. It frankly was going to cost America a lot of money. The benefit.
Jamie Dimon, Lloyd Blankfein, GM, Ford, Exxon, they're all wrong on this issue?
Yeah, I think they are wrong because I think they're coming at it from the political side of it rather than the reality side of it. I look at it from the reality side is we're going to continue to be leaders in clean energy. That's going to happen. And I think the popular issue of, oh gosh, you've got to be for Paris or somehow or another you don't care about the environment is, that is political rhetoric. President Trump, myself, others in the administration feel importantly that we need to be looking at what are the results for America. Is spending billions of dollars and not knowing where that money literally is going to end up, just sending it to some nice sounding place. I think those dollars will be better spent in national labs on technologies that we know are going to have an effect upon the environment. And again, I go back to I got a pretty good record of both creating jobs and positively impacting the environment. While I was the governor of Texas, we've reduced our total carbon footprint by almost 20%, at the same time leading the nation in the creation of jobs. I think that's what the goal is.
Well, let's stick it to the domestic agenda because the President has talked about possibly winding down, reducing some of the strategic oil reserves. Is that something that you would favor?
I think it's wise for us to take a look at projects and deals, if you will, that have been placed for a long time. The question is, why was the strategic oil reserve put in place to begin with? Why is it there? It has a role. And it has a role, for instance, if there is a major disaster like Sandy. Being the governor of Texas, we had more than our fair share of hurricanes. So having that strategic reserve, I think the debate is what's the right level. So the President is right to have the conversation. How much of this do we really need to keep on hand? How much of it can we put into the market? How do you manage all of that? That's classic Donald Trump negotiating a better deal for the people of the United States.
But the market impact, you'd be wary of what that market impact might be depending on the levels?
Again, I think any of us who have managed big entities before realize that there are market impacts. You do it in a way that has hopefully the least effect on the market as you can, but with the long-term goal being what puts the United States in the strongest position, whether it's economically, whether it's being prepared for a disaster, whatever that might be.
What are you going to be doing to boost the demand, the American demand for U.S. coal?
Well, obviously, the CCUS, we opened up the world's largest plant just outside of Houston, Texas, a little over a month ago, Petronova. It's taking 90% of all the emissions, the CO2, out of the atmosphere, then putting it back into a pipeline, pumping it 80 miles away to an oil field that is helping enhanced oil recover and secondary, in this case, in some cases tertiary, ways to bring new oil to the surface. This field, about 500 barrels a day. The potential here with enhanced oil recovery is 15,000 barrels a day. So it's a real win-win. The environment is winning. the company that's being able to sell that CO2 to the oil field, the oil company, the producers. That's the model that we want China to take a look at for their oil fields in the northwestern part of China.
I just want to get your views on what we're seeing in Qatar and the embargo that we're seeing around. It's a U.S. ally. You have a military base there. What are your views on the risks involved and what we're seeing in Qatar?
Yes, sir. I think it's important for all of our allies, all of our friends, to really take a strong stand against militant Islamic terrorists. I mean, the idea that any country, and I don't know the details of Qatar has historically been a friend. My home state has an engineering school at Education City. Sheikh Moza is a friend. The former emir and the current emir are people that we have personal relationships with, and I don't want to delve into an area that I don't have as deep a understanding as I think it takes to address this issue at this particular point in time. But I think globally it's important for us to send a message that we're in a fight against individuals who would do harm to our citizens.
Even if that means blockading a U.S. ally.
Listen, I will leave that to the State Department folks that have the information and the intel. There's countries involved in this that are our friends. We'll sort this out. But I think we all have to send a powerful message that the Manchester bombings, that what happened on the London Bridge, those are unacceptable, and that we are going to stand together against this type of radical Islam activity and stop it.
I don't know if you got a chance to watch the testimony of former FBI Director James Comey, but we've got to a situation now where we have Comey accusing the White House of lying, the White House accusing Comey of lying. Who are we to believe?
Well, I did not have the opportunity to watch that. That was right smack in the middle of the night over here, so it'll all sort its way out. I'm quite comfortable that the President of the United States, his activities have been appropriate, and I think his decision to let Mr. Comey go do something else in his life was appropriate as well.
Final question. We're seeing the UK election results coming out. It looks like, at this stage, it may well be a hung parliament. It looks like the Prime Minister, Theresa May, and her future is very much in doubt now. This surely will affect the UK-US relationship, particularly given how much Prime Minister May had invested in building up a relationship with President Trump and your administration.
I will suggest to you that an administration on either side is not going to have an effect on the United States and the United Kingdom and their relationship. We have been in this special relationship for a long, long time, up to and including you all allowing the Republic of Texas to have an embassy in your country in 1839 when Texas was its own nation. I say that with a bit of pride in the relationship that both Texas and the United States have with the UK. We're going to be partners. We're going to be in it together, regardless of who is leading each country. America and Great Britain are going to be standing shoulder to shoulder.
It might take a bit longer to get that free trade agreement, possibly.
You never know. I wouldn't bet against the UK and the U.S. Finding solutions to challenges that face us. We've historically done that.